and welcome to Benji and Abby Busket with Patrick and Eleanor. Hello.
Hey. Hello.
You guys, both want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, so I'm Patrick. I play saxophone and piano and some guitar-y type stuff. And I do some dramaturgy stuff for the company as well.
I'm Eleanor, and I'm an actor musician too, and a member of the Bohemians, and I directed the devised R&D workshop of the Wild Swans back in Rosebruford in October. And I sing and I play piano and guitar.
So what have you both been up to whilst the lockdown's been going on? Should we start with you, Eleanor? What's been happening?
Yeah, sure. Well, since the lockdown, I'm from Glasgow, so I've been up there in a wee flat. It's been really nice, actually. What have I been doing? I've been doing lots of music, writing lots of music. I've got started the long journey of recording music on an interface, which is very exciting as well. But the thing that I've been doing that has been most exciting to me has been my gardening. So I've set up a garden which has got lots of different vegetables growing in it, and right in front of me I'm looking at my tomato plants and my peas and my beans all in front of me. So I've been growing some vegetables as well. That has taken up most of my time, to be honest.
You've got an EP coming out as well, haven't you? What's the date for that? Because maybe we can chuck that on. We can put a little link to that page.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my EP is a live EP called the St Vincent Street Sessions, and it's coming out on Friday the 12th of June. So that's...
Get on it, people. Friday the 12th of June.
Yeah, get on it. Get it pre-saved.
So, Ricky, what have you been up to in lockdown?
Well, I've been playing a lot of saxophone and a lot of piano to try and improve my skills a little bit, as much as I can. And I recently completed the Couch to 5K, so that was fun.
Oh,
yeah. So
I can't get past
was
week one.
Yeah. Well, that was a nice thing to do. It was like it gave me some sense of progress. So and it gave me a time frame as well. So actually, it was quite nice to do. And now I don't hate running anymore. I now think it's okay.
Okay, so if people haven't heard about the Wild Swans before, Eleanor, can you give us a quick 30-second synopsis of what it's about? And this week we are going to be timing you, so the pressure's on. Are we ready? 3,
yeah, I'm ready.
2, 1, go!
The Wild Swans is a story by Hans Christian Andersen about a princess and her 11 brothers, the brothers get banished by the Wicked Queen into wild swans. Eliza's task is to go on a massive epic quest to find her brothers. Along the way, she encounters lots of different adventures, but in the end, she frees her brothers by leaving them 11 cloaks of nettles, and they all get reunited at the end and become a happy family, fly off into the distance, and the end.
Oh, wow.
Very nice.
Yeah, that was
Very
good.
Nice.
Yeah, so Eleanor, where did the original idea for to turn the Wild Swans into sort of an Actor Muso adaptation come from?
The original idea came from the Wild Swans was a very very pertinent story for me growing up. When I was a wee kiddo, my mum had a beautiful bound book, which we actually used in the R&D, of all of Hans Christian Andersen's stories. So Hans Christian Andersen was a Danish children's story writer. So he wrote Little Mermaids, and he wrote lots of other different stories that are really popular.
The Ugly Duckling. And
The Ugly Duckling, yeah. Yeah, lots of different, like the Little Matchstick Girl, I think, as well. Yeah. Lots of amazing stories. So it's kind of like the Grimm Brothers, but less grotesque. And his stories are all based on really beautiful, like, Danish folklore. And for some reason, I was really attracted to that as a child, and I just thought it was so. There was some of his stories. They're kind of Christian based, which is not kind of. I think the interesting thing about that is that it's all positive. They all come out with really positive morals and quite uplifting messages at the end. So I was drawn to it because of that, and then I kind of revisited the stories when I was at uni, or like kind of finishing uni and like with you guys. And we'd worked a lot with, like, at Bruford, where we all went to college, we all actor muso elements were always popping up in pieces of children's theatre we were looking at, pieces of devised theatre, which I really love the process of actor musos being in the production, composing the music, heading the devising process, and it was such a kind of direct language that spoke to young kids really, really well. We actually, so yeah, I was kind of drawn to it, those elements of like a really direct, like fun, playful way of making theatre, and this really beautiful, uplifting Danish fairy tale that I love personally. And yeah, I just thought what Benji gave me the opportunity to kind of see what happened if we just stuck a couple of our pals in a room and Brufords with different materials and different stimuluses, whether it was music, whether it was like actual physical material, like just however many ways we can connect the audience to this really uplifting story about a little girl who just has this like innate desire to help people and help her family, and she'll go to whatever lengths to do that. So I guess that's what was important about it for me.
Yeah, brilliant. So from that original idea, as you said, Eleanor, you came to me and we sort of talked about it for ages, I think, over emails and phone calls. And then we approached Jeremy Harrison, who was running the actor musician MA course at the moment, about sort of potentially connecting with them to develop it at Rosewood. And we got a space and we ended up doing it. And it was all very sort of a whirlwind, really. We talked about it for ages, and then it sort of all fell into place.
It just kind of happened, and then it
came and went very quickly as well.
Yeah.
So, and that was sort of the first sort of development on the piece. And obviously Ricky was a part of that process. So I'm wondering, Ricky, you coming into it sort of perhaps cold. Obviously you kind of knew about the idea, but what was your impressions of the story and of the R&D week generally?
Well, I really like that story. I hadn't heard it at all before we started doing the show, so it was completely fresh to me. And yeah, Hans Christian Andersen stories, they're really interesting in like, because yeah, they're not like dark, like you said about the grim fairy tales. They're not like these super dark, grotesque things, but they do have these kind of weird melancholy elements to them.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of kind of bittersweet type things in there, and you know, which I think is really interesting and works really well for putting into, you know, a play. And I think it was what I liked about doing the R&D was that like we kind of very much approached it from an open perspective. So like we came in and just kind of threw everything at the wall, really. And yeah, at the start of the week, we kind of said, right, we'll try and do what Eleanor said. We'll try and do like soundscape stuff. We're going to play around with materials, and we're just kind of going to basically busk it and just figure out as we go what this thing is going to be. And I think that was a really nice way to approach a story like that, because you kind of need, with a kid show, you need to kind of keep that buoyancy and that sense of play and that sense of fun, so that they can engage with it. And I think we definitely had that in that week.
It was fun.
Yeah.
We had buoyancy and fun, so then the story had buoyancy and fun.
Yes. Yeah.
Brilliant. And from that R&D, what do you feel like would be the things you want to expand on more, or you'd strip back on? What came like really pinpointed out from that R&D for you?
Well, I actually, before we came on this morning, I actually rewatched the performance. I've watched it a few times, but I thought it would be quite nice to kind of just go straight into this after watching the final like working kind of production, or like what we came up with at the end of the week. And what really struck a chord for me was what I'd really, really love to expand on is what Patrick's saying is like the lightness and the buoyancy of the happy moments, and because and focusing a lot more on the kind of the kind of peaks and emotional peaks and troughs of the story. I think we focused a lot in the week on like throwing everything at the wall. We had billions and billions of elements. We had such creative people in the room who were literally chucking, like, you know, we had something like 20 pieces of excerpts, pieces of music, or every single different theme, and we had multiple different plot, you know, like different types of dramaturgy, where the way different kind of plot lines, and we had different materials, and we had all this kind of stuff. But I think what I'd really like to expand on, and that displayed itself beautifully in the final production that we showed to everyone. You could see all these elements, these devising elements working really well, but what was kind of missing, and what I would love to expand on, is this, the kind of light, I say, like happy, buoyant, like themes of family and hope, and like seeing and being in awe of the world that, you know, that's like happening before you. But then also there's some really sad moments of like loss and loneliness, and like not feeling isolated as well. So I think like those, and that's what gives the story heart. And I think also children really connect to those quite like basic primal emotions of like, I am a lot like, I've lost something, or like I've lost my mom, or I've lost my family, or I've lost my brothers, but I'm really happy because I've found them again. And those are kind of quite just simple but really beautiful emotional choices that I think, we should definitely expand. I don't know about you, Patrick, because you're, you know, the story was something that you were quite a big part of in the week, but I don't know what your thoughts are on that. But I think definitely for me, that's something that I'd love to expand on.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, and what I really, when I look back on it, what I really liked about that piece was like those moments of kind of warmth that we had in it. Like, there were these kind of, when everything kind of slows down and you're kind of just left with the characters, and they're like, well, you're talking about loneliness and you know losing your family and all that kind of stuff. You know, I think there were some really beautiful moments when we kind of settle in with those feelings. Mm-hmm. And you get something really nice out of that. With this story, I think that the consequence of us doing it for a week and kind of having so many ideas was that, like, it was just kind of like, right, this story beat happens, and then now we've got this next story bit that's going to come here. We kind of had to just kind of string them together because that was the time that we had. So I think there's definitely, in future there would definitely be work to be done about like tying those things together in a way that flows better. But obviously all that stuff comes with time.
There's so many kind of like raw little diamonds in the rough, like nuggets of stuff that you could just tell if we'd had more time on it and refined it and just sat with it for a bit longer, then they would be in there. So that's
definitely
something
that's the beauty of an R&D, isn't it? That you get to. And would you want more time with an R&D before you went into a process, like a full rehearsal process for a performance?
I would, I think so. I don't know, I'd never directed anything before. I'd never directed, and I'd been in lots of R&Ds, and I'd never directed anything before, and so it was a really new experience for me, and that's why I'm so chuffed that I had Benji and Patrick and Sean and like all the folks who went to drama school with, like all our pals, and kind of like supporting me and kind of steering me in the right direction during the process. But I think maybe a combination of a second stage of another couple of days, or just some more time, like obviously in this time, in this current state, you know, that's difficult, but even conversations like we're having now, and maybe running the R&D slightly more efficiently or differently, there's always different things you could have done, but like I think we would just need a little bit more exploration time and before we went into it being a rehearsal process, I think.
Something that I found really interesting, because we talk a lot about what actor musical shows are, and we talk about a spectrum going from there's like the big actor musicals, you know, like The Watermill does, and and then you have your band sort of acting music shows like Sunny Afternoon and that, and with this version that we're developing of the Wild Swans at the moment, at least during that R&D, there wasn't any dialogue as such. There was narration we sort of implemented, but a lot of it was about sort of storytelling using music and movement. And yeah, that's something I think, you know, you don't see a lot. I don't know, maybe you do, I don't know. But that was the thing that struck me, is how we tell a story without words, other than narration to sort of guide the audience. I don't know if you feel you'd like to move it forward like that, or include more dialogue and narration, or
I don't know. What do you think, Ricky?
I don't know. I mean, I did my dissertation on like replacing text with music, so
Yeah.
I'm a bit biased. I'm a bit biased towards you know, storytelling through music, because I think it's something that's really unique, and like I like conveying something through kind of feeling and through emotion rather than just kind of explaining it. But obviously there are always certain story elements that you can't really convey that way. I don't know, but again, that's something that you might find if you did another few days of R&D and you said, right, we'll try and explore this specific idea, this specific little bit of the story, but we're going to try and do it without text. And then you might find that it works, or you might find that actually, no, we do need to explain this.
Yeah, it's really crucial. Well, we kind of did a little bit of that in the week. We explored quite a lot this little moment with like exploring the relationship with the family. Do you remember that, with the brothers? Which is very I think was a highlight for me, because we got Patrick and Sean to like improvise this dialogue that they were brought. But we were like, okay, we're going to try this like with all the text, and then we're going to try it with half the text, and then we realized we were like, we can actually tell a story with absolutely no text at all. And looking back on that little clip was actually one of the clearest storytelling moments of that. There's a little sequence, just like a little physical sequence where the brothers were playing with their sister in the woods, and then she got lost, and then the brothers tried to find her and they couldn't find her, and then she came back, and it was all very clear. So I think it's such a balance, and I think there's times where you absolutely need the text. I actually watched Wise Children's on iPlayer. I don't know whether you guys have watched it.
Yeah.
But I actually like what I love about like I think Mihai's really, really, really good at using text like sparsely and using so many other elements to like tell the story. And what was quite interesting when I watched Wise Children was that there was the two main characters were the two narrators, but they were like, their main job was narrating, but they were characters in the story. So the rest of the characters only had these tiny little bits of dialogue to kind of lift them up a little bit, and then away they go, and it all gets taken over by a piece of dance or a piece of music, but you have these little nuggets of text that are really beautifully kind of chosen and essential to help you understand who they are as a character, or help you understand the relationship. So I'd really love to explore a bit more of that side of like, when is it possible to tell this bit of the story without any text or just with narration, or is it essential that we need the audience to understand this about this person, or this about this relationship, or this about this theme, or whatever it is that we need the audience to understand. I think as well, like putting it in the context of children, like that's something that I think I think there was some kind of complication, but I think definitely in the second stage of an R&D, I would love to include outreach work in schools.
And they can drive the project forward as well, because you never know if you're doing the outreach work and it's a workshop with the children, if they give you a bit of an idea, that might make a brand new scene or a brand new way of thinking about
sure.
it. So it's the fantastic. I love children's theatre as well. You forget they're mini humans, and what you were saying before about this child, who is the leader of the story, has all of these emotions. She's dealing with the loss, she's dealing with the joy, and it's not 2D. And we need to remember that children's theatre should not just be, this children is happy, now they are sad. They have the complex emotions, so it's brilliant that the story is getting made for them.
So we've talked about this a bit already, about the future of the piece, because it is in development with us. And Eleanor, you and I have had some conversations, but not as many because of, what's going on in the world. But what do we feel is next? Obviously, including the outreach, and I know we've talked about Scotland, maybe, I don't know. What is
Scotland?
Where would you like it to go next, and who would you like it to be for, and where and how and when?
That's a big question, man. Like,
it is.
Yeah, I think the piece is for, like, we spoke a lot about like what the piece was for in the week, and we were like, who are we actually telling the story for and to? And in my mind, it was originally for like little girls who feel like who want to have like a kind of a role model of this like really strong-willed but vulnerable wee girl who's like going on a quest to save her big brothers, and that was kind of originally when I started the project. That was originally my idea for who it was for and how we would progress from that. But I think as the week went on, and because there's actually, it was quite a while ago, and I've had like different feelings about this project, but mainly for that reason of like, who is it? Who are we? Like, who is the piece for, and who are we telling the story to? And I think if we were to move it forward, I think, Abby, what you said, like about making it for kids and like making it for just like unempowered kids who feel like they can't, like, it's such like a fun, like big epic adventure, but it's all grounded in like, it's okay to like love your family and really, really want to look after your family, and it's important, and you can, as a wee girl or a wee boy or a wee pet human being, can make a change like that. So I think moving forward, that would be what I would go for, and then yeah, I think just like, I just think who knows like what the rest of the year is going to happen. And I think in Scotland up here, like there's some amazing children's theatre companies and some really like that are doing a lot of actor musical work up in Scotland, like Catherine Wheels and like the Byre do amazing things. Scottish Youth Theatre do amazing things as well. We've got amazing youth theatres up in Scotland, so reaching out to them and working with them would be amazing. But I think it's much more about like having more of a finite idea of like who the piece is for, what is it, what like package can we take from like that crazy week that we had, and like send it out into the world and be like, this is our show, and we want to explore this thing further. That would be where I would want to go with it, but obviously Corona permitting.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. To be continued, I suppose.
I just want to pick up on something which you were just saying, because what I really like is you were talking about like the vulnerable child who has to go on this big quest, and I think that's quite an important thing to focus on, is like this idea that being vulnerable and feeling scared and sad and lonely and all these kind of things, that doesn't make you weak as a person, and you can be strong and feel all these tough emotions. And I do think that's an important thing to show to kids, is that that's all right.
Yeah,
so yeah
because you get taught quite a lot in schools, don't you? Come on now, just grow up, be mature, be an adult. Adults don't cry, grown-ups don't cry, and it's let them be. I think that's really nice that you've got a piece of theatre that goes, actually, you're okay as you are. Thank you so much for watching Benji and Abby Busk It with Patrick and Eleanor this week, talking all things Wild Swans. Join us next week when we'll be chatting with more actor musicians in the industry. So we'll see you then. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Cheers, bye.